G'day and welcome to my series on the Industrial Revolution. A very good place to start when you're looking at the Industrial Revolution is asking yourself the question, what is an Industrial Revolution? Well, two simple words, industry and revolution. Not that simple really. Industry usually is talking about people that make stuff. A nice pair of slacks or a shirt or a tunic or something like that. Broadly speaking, they might also make steel or a house or something like that. So we're talking factories here. I want you to think about factories with a whole bunch of people in it getting raw materials in and making something out of it and then selling that thing. That's called manufacturing. That's usually what we mean by industry. Revolution can mean a couple of different things. In this case, it's talking about a whole series of changes, which means you used to do something one way and that was the way it was done. People would call it the status quo. Then a whole bunch of stuff happened and it made you change the whole way you thought about it so that now you do it a completely different way. So you've gone from status quo, the way things are done, to completely changing everything about everything, and then there's a new status quo. There's a new way things are done. You've had a revolution. That's often the way it's talked about. So in this case, the Industrial Revolution, some people might say we went from a society that's all about farming, and most people are farmers, and most of the stuff we do on a day is planting seeds and growing crops and then eating them, to an industrial society where most of us work in factories or make stuff and get materials and are in the, we work either getting the materials out of mines, coal for example, or to run steam engines, etc. So society and the normal thing that happens in society has completely changed so that it's now a different thing. That's what's called a revolution. Alright, so now that we've looked at what the Industrial Revolution is, how did it happen? So we're talking about a period of time in England is the first place that it occurred, around about late 1700s, early 1800s. The first thing that happened, and we're going to run through this video a couple of things that caused the Industrial Revolution to happen. The first thing was the Agricultural Revolution. It's the exact same idea. They used to farm in this way, a whole bunch of stuff happened, which I'll talk about, and now they farmed in this other way.
Let's begin with the Agricultural Revolution. Now I'm sure most of you would think this is what a farm looked like back in the 1700s in Britain. I'll show you what farms look like. Farms often looked a little bit like this, or like whoa in the air, or like this, or like this. No fences, no perfectly cleared ground, until a movement started called the enclosure movement. Basically this was when people said, what if we put a fence around so that we could say that this was our field? And that's exactly what happened. One of the problems with farming back then was that the soil would get tired. You'd plant crops and grow them, and if after a year or two that it starts to look a little bit like this. So what they used to do was they would only plant on 2/3 of their farm. So plant, leave. And that would allow the soil on this part right here to kind of rejuvenate, replenish. However, while that's happening, only 2/3 of your farm are being used. So what do we do about this? A scientist kind of agricultural guy worked out that if you plant different types of plants at different times in the soil, it actually rejuvenates the soil. So if you swap, or if you maybe plant clover in one, what happens is that actually works quite well, and these things, called plants obviously, grow. What did that do? It allowed the whole farm to be used. Overnight farming, that's called the Agricultural Revolution. We've got new machinery, probably not as advanced as that, but new machinery, new inventions, new ideas. They actually put a lot of money into the science to work out just how to grow things better. And it worked. Not only did they decide to work on soil maintenance and on various enclosures, etc., new technologies, they also worked out that, hang on a second, if I get a really, good sheep with a lot of wool, and I breed it with another good sheep with a, good head of wool, perhaps its kids will have a good set of wool. And if there's a massive cow, good beef in it, and I breed that with another massive cow, perhaps that's what'll happen. So, let's see what occurs. I've found some friends to help me out here, so let's go. Here we are. Did it work? Oh, it certainly did. Oh, thank you very much. Freakish looking pig thing. What about cows? Most certainly. Especially with different types. So there's many different types of us cows, and crossbreeding different types allowed for the advantages of different types of cows to come to the fore. Oh, thank you, informative and also freakish looking cow. And also, that's enough sheep.